I decided I was going to smile first in these things because every time I don't smile first and I give like some crazy, I don't know, the beginning of my videos always look super crazy when I go to post them. I'm like, why was I making that face? Um, so hello. I am going to give people a few time. Hello, welcome. I'm going to give people just a little bit of time to pop in before we get to the scope session and what this whole thing is about. Tim, hey, how are you? So before we really get into everything that, you know, what this is all about, what tonight is all about, I do apologize. I was supposed to write about tonight's session yesterday. But what had happened was, I'm well. Thank you for everyone that's joining. Tim, Timothy, I'm tired. And that's exactly what I was saying. I was supposed to write yesterday about what today was going to be about. But apparently this week, I've had to beat like 18 different people. It's amazing. Like, not 18, like 5. Legit 5 different people. So I've been exhausted in grad school. Y'all listen. So, yeah, pretty much what had happened was I just had all this stuff I had to do. Like, it was crazy. So tonight's scope sessions, you know, as you know, if you have been following these scopes, I have a website called lifesdiary.net, LIFESDIARY, thank you, .net, and it really is all about encouraging and motivating women, and I'm starting to find that, like, some men are even going like, okay, that applies to men too, so all the better. But it really is encouraging women to live their best life and be really healthy when you're living your life. So Tuesday we talked about the reciprocity in, you know, getting back what you give. Tonight it is really all going to be about, tonight's scope is called What Now? What is a woman to do when she has to start all over? I'm finding that there is this little underground current of women who have had to start over and don't want to talk about it for whatever reason. I know for me, I felt ashamed having to start over. I felt like, I don't know, I just felt like I just failed. And when you have to start over like that, when your marriage doesn't work and your family's split apart, it comes with this sense of failure. And I had a deep sense of failure. And I started to meet other women that were feeling the same way, but, you know, they didn't want to talk about it. So that's really what Life's Diary was really started for. So tonight's scope, all about how do you start over? What do you do when you start over? And if you missed this, you can easily catch the replay. It'll also be on my website within another hour or so, or by tomorrow the latest. Let me be realistic. So when a woman has to start over, a few things happens here. And this could be starting over from anything. For me, I had to start over after divorce. And again, I always tell people, when you listen to me, I am not an advocate for divorce. I'm really not. It was so stressful. The majority of my weight loss came from getting divorced. So I'm never going to suggest it. I'm always going to tell you, when you meet someone, take your time and make sure that's the person you're supposed to marry. And that's the person you're supposed to be with, because divorce is so stressful. I will never do it again. But unfortunately, I found myself having to go through a divorce. And I found myself having to go through the trauma of watching someone I pretty much grew up with move out of the house and explain to our daughter why mommy and daddy weren't together anymore. And I was really starting over. So for some women, it's not as traumatic. For some women, it could be, you know, you just have to rebuild your life. You're just going after your passions and goals. For me, it was all of that. So when you have to start over, there are a few things that you really should think about doing. And this really can kind of apply to anyone. The first thing is first, you have to be very realistic. If you find yourself in a place where you have to start over, you have to be realistic about what's in front of you. You have to be realistic. Hello, welcome. You have to be realistic about what your situation is. You have to be realistic. Hello, how are you? You have to be realistic about what you're facing, because starting over, it really is no joke. So you can't start over with blinders on. So that's the first thing I would say. Be very realistic about your life. I was not realistic about my life when I had to start over. When I started over, I rebounded right into a relationship. Like, the ink wasn't even dry. And I rebounded because I desperately wanted something to work. So I wasn't realistic about what was going on. I wasn't realistic in the fact that as a woman, when I started over, hello, welcome. I see a couple people popping in. When I had to start over, I wasn't realistic in the fact that I had to do a lot of healing first. And not only did I have to do a lot of healing, there were just a lot of loose ends that I had to put together. I thought starting over meant, I'm out here. I'm about to do this. I'm about to do that. It just wasn't the case. So, hello, welcome. So you have to be realistic when you start over. That's first. Second, and if you are, I'm just going to keep it all the way real with you, with starting over. In the Black community, there is a negative connotation with seeking therapy and seeking help. I never saw it as a good thing. My family never saw it as a good thing. Most Black families don't see going outside of the house for help as a good thing. But for me, I knew I couldn't do this on my own. So I sought the appropriate help. So your second step in what now when you have to start over, seek the appropriate help. I mean, like healthy help, like the appropriate help. If you have to go to therapy for some things, so you have to go to therapy for some things. If you have to start getting help from family and friends, you can't be prideful and not take it. It's not an easy process. So for me, I started therapy because I wanted to know, hi, Peace and Balance. I'm so happy to see you. When I started over, I wanted to make sure I was not going, hello. I wanted to make sure I was not going to keep repeating the same mistakes. Because see, when we start over in our life, we tend to do the same things over and over and over again, and then wonder why we're always in the same predicament. There's a reason. Because when you start over, hello, okay, how are you? When you start over, you're not supposed to make the same mistakes that much. You're supposed to get better and better. So just had this discussion with my mom, and she was like, I don't want people. But see, Tim, like in the Black community, that's how we are. Whatever happens in the house stays in the house. I don't want to buy my business. And that's what happened in my marriage. We didn't seek counseling because for that reason, and it did not work. So if you have to get help, get help. The reason why I went to therapy is this. A colleague suggested it. And at first I was like, no, I'm not going to therapy. I have this. I'm strong enough to have this. The fact was I wasn't strong enough to have it on my own. I was starting over. My marriage had ended. I was married for over 10 years. So what I knew was gone. And I was mourning that. And I hadn't been alone in over 10 years. I hadn't been alone in over 10 years. So when I started going to therapy, I really wanted to get help and understand what it was that I was missing, what I was doing wrong. So I started going to therapy, and thank God I got a God-fearing therapist who was more than just, someone you can come sit on my couch and listen. She really was like, let's get some proactive strategies to get you healed here. And she really was like, let's get you back into prayer. Let's get you back into church. And that's exactly what happened. So with my therapist, we started to create a life map. And hi, Jamel. Somebody else just popped on also. Hello. So we created a life map. And I really want to make sure I fixed those holes. And I wanted to make sure, hey, hon, I wanted to make sure I fixed those holes because I know for a fact that I plan on getting married again. And I want it to last. And the only way to do that is to make sure you're healthy. So that was my second thing. Seek appropriate help. And I don't care what anyone says to me about Black people not getting help from therapy. Best thing I ever did in my life. Going to therapy was the best thing I did because your girl was crying all over the place. Your girl was crying downtown. Your girl was crying in the courthouse. Your girl was crying in the, I would have to take a break from class and go somewhere and cry. I had no clue how to get myself going. My therapist helped me. And not only did she help me, she started to help me understand that I had certain patterns, such as she started to help me understand, thank you for the hearts. She started to help me understand that I had patterns of, and I hate saying this, but she started to help me understand that I was choosing men that were a lot like my father. No clue. My father's a musician. Here's the funny thing. I only ever dated a musician, and I married a musician. So that was funny. So our next step was, let's find a man that's not a musician, maybe. I've done this as well. You know, and we do it subconsciously and don't even know it. My therapist, who's no longer my therapist, now she's turned into a really good friend. She always says that we are only aware of about 10% of what we're doing. 90% of the things we do, we're not aware of. So with that being said, you have to make sure you're getting someone from the outside that can see what you're not seeing and what you're missing. So that's what happened. And we started to find that I had a lot of trust issues. I didn't want to let go of some things, and I really want to do things on my own. Welcome to everyone popping in. I'm missing people because I'm just like talking, but welcome. I'm so happy you're here. So when you're starting over, seek appropriate help. Therapy was the best thing I had ever done. So the first 2 steps, if you're just popping in and you find that you've had to start your life over, A, be realistic about where you are, where you want to go, and what you need. 2, seek appropriate help. Seek healthy help. I had an amazing group of friends also that was there for me. I had one particular friend who we were just kind of, we were okay friends, but we didn't have any beef. But when I got divorced, girlfriend stepped up as a friend. She was there every day, taking me for walks. Even when I didn't want to go, she was just at my house, get dressed, get ready, we're going. So that was that. 3rd, and this is something that I find people have such a hard time with. Get to the point, hello, how are you? Welcome. Get to the point where you get used to spending some time alone. Because I'm going to tell you this. If you don't like being alone, man or woman watching this, if you have an issue with being alone, you are going to throw yourself into the most unhealthy of relationships. You're going to allow the most unhealthy people into your life because you just want company. See, the thing of it is, when you get used to being alone, the people that you invite in your life, you're going to invite them in because you want them to be there, not because you feel like you don't want to be alone. So that's really important. People, men and women, have to get used to spending some time by themselves. Because you have to know, that's the only way you start to find yourself and really know yourself. And my therapist used to give me homework assignments, right? I told you she was proactive. I was just not about to sit on her couch and cry things out. Thank you so much for the hearts. I was not about to sit there and cry things out. I'm doing that now. Jamal, I'm going to tell you, it's a beautiful process. Not always fun, but it is a beautiful process. So my assignments were, start going out by yourself. Go out, girl. Go out by myself? What? Girl, I don't eat out by myself. I don't go to the movies by myself. So I started to do this. My first outing was to a Sidney Poitier thing in a museum. And I went by myself. And then I started to slowly just do more things by myself. I did end up going to a movie theater by myself. I did end up going to eat by myself. I funniest thing ever, I actually ended up going to a club by myself. It was right by my house. And I went by myself. I went to happy hour by myself. And when I started doing that, I started to enjoy that time with myself. And I started to love being by myself because I started to really find myself. And I started to find what I liked, what I didn't like, what events I liked doing. So I was building a life that I wanted to live. It's important, but it gets lonely. Jamal, spending time by yourself does get very lonely. So I promise I've been in a current relationship. Oh, okay. Well, let me keep going then. First things first. Now y'all done got me going. Being alone, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. When I was 17, I met this man. I was being fast. Don't judge me. I was being fast. And because I looked older than what I was. And I met this older man. And he said to me, I like spending time by myself. And I remember thinking, well, don't you get lonely? And he said to me something I'll never forget. He said, there is a difference between being alone and being lonely. And you have to get to the point where you understand the difference. Hello. You have to get to the point where you understand the difference. There is a difference between being alone and being lonely. So when you're alone, you have that ability to get to know yourself and love yourself. You have to watch loneliness though. Because when you find yourself being lonely, that's when those late night phone calls happen. That's when those text messages happen. And you end up texting home from down the street that was fly, but never meant you any good. And you have no business texting homes. So when you get lonely, figure something out. You can only do that, though, if you spend time by yourself. So for me, if I had my lonely moments, your girl was writing in her journal. Your girl was watching her favorite movie. Your girl was doing something to occupy her time that did not include inviting people into my life that had no business being there. Okay? But that's not an easy task. That's something that you have to really learn to do. So I had to learn how to be alone. So that's something that you have to understand how to do. And now I'm at the point where my phone could ring and I might be like, ooh, I'm about to watch this movie. I'm about to eat this popcorn. I'm about to eat these M&Ms. Do I really want to go out tonight? I don't think so. Because I'm comfortable in my own skin and I'm comfortable with my own time. So now there is no reason for me to chase after anybody. Because if you want to be in my life, you're going to be in my life. If not, oh well. But that confidence all comes from learning how to get alone. And when you spend time alone, you learn how to reconnect with God and you learn how to reconnect with yourself. There's a ton of treasures that await a woman or a man when they get to know themselves. So those are your first 3 steps. When you are a woman and you have to start over. When you are a woman when you have to start over in your life, be realistic about where you are and where you want to go. Seek the appropriate outside help, because if you're ending a relationship, especially a meaningful relationship and a long relationship, you're going to need to heal. And sometimes you can't heal yourself. You need someone outside that can help you get there. And then number 3, start spending some time with yourself. Start knowing who you are as a person. Start knowing what it is that you want to do. Again, for me, I went and saw a really good therapist. I had a great therapist. So you have to search around for that, though. So taking time to myself. I will say that I'm more selective since I've taken time to myself. That's really where you want to be. So for me right now, and I was talking to Jamel, you skipping ahead. Number 4, selective in my relationship. Number 4, learn how to protect your energy in your space. When you have to start over, you are essentially creating the life you want. If you start over the right way. I had a pivotal moment. When I started over, I said to myself, okay, Shamar, you have to live life the way you want to live life. The reason why, because if your life is turned upside down from this divorce, if your life is going haywire, you have to create the life you want. And in creating the life that I want, I had to learn to protect my space and my energy. So you have to learn how to protect it, meaning you have to understand that it is not selfish to start cutting people off that don't need to be in your life. Too many times, especially women, I'm not even going to say women because I've met a lot of men who go through this also. We just keep people around for whatever reason. Either we're afraid to be alone, and we already talked about that, learn to be alone. Or we think it's selfish to cut people off. It really isn't. Because if that person is only bringing negative energy into your life, you're not getting the life you want. What was the point of you starting over? What was the point in you doing things your own way if you're still letting any and everyone traipse into your life and bring all kinds of energy into your life? That's not fair to you. And you can't move on fully the way you deserve to if you are always allowing everyone into your life. You just can't. So when you have to cut people off, and the thing about it is, you'll feel those red flags in your spirit. When you have to cut people off, you really have to be ready to do it and understand that there's nothing wrong in doing it. I always feel like, and I was talking to a really great friend of mine last night, I always feel like I've worked too hard to create a life of peace and balance. I've worked too hard to begin to follow my dreams and my passions, to allow my life to all of a sudden be turned upside down because I let the wrong person stay in it for too long.
So find your nearest branch or visit us online and find your...
Starting your life over it's hard, but eventually it'll get peaceful. And when it gets there, you have to learn how to protect your space, meaning you have to be ready to be like, no, you have to go. Even if it hurts, even if you don't want to, even if you don't want to see that person go, If it means protecting your space and your heart and your spirit and your mind, you have to be willing to say goodbye. And that's the reality of it. And that's something that not many of us want to do. God wants us to have an abundant life. Is it going to come with stress? Yeah, it's going to come with stress. Of course. But we're not meant to walk around tensed up, stressed up, not knowing what to do all the time. We're meant to be here to walk in our purpose and our calling. And you can't do that if you're allowing all kinds of energy to run rampant in your life that you don't even want. You have control over your life. It's your life. It's your life. It is your life. No one else's. And if you have to start over, you have to take the reins of your life and do it the way you want it to be done. You have to take the reins of your life and your spirit, and you have to walk in it the way you want to. The hardest thing for me to do right now is let things go, especially once you've invested so much into someone. So, Jaleisha, I don't know if you were here for the beginning of my Periscope. I was married for over 10 years. It's a long time, and it's a lot of investment. 10 years of marriage, one beautiful baby. It was hard. It was hard. But what ended up happening was the unhappiness got to be a bit much, and we couldn't work things out. We really rushed ahead of God's time. We really did. Funny thing about it is he's one of my best friends now. That's so funny. And we communicate now. We communicate better now than we did when we were married. But we really rushed ahead of God's time. And it took us forever to get to the point where we could say, this isn't working. It took forever. It took 80 pounds of weight gain. It took giving up our passions, our dreams, before we looked up and realized that we didn't know who we were anymore. And it was time to start over. It sucks investing your time in someone. It really sucks investing your energy in someone, and then you realize it's not working. It feels like wasted time. It feels like I could have been doing anything in that amount of time that I wasted with you. But if it means that you get your peace of mind back, if it means that you get your sanity back, if it means that you get your heart back, you got to rip the Band-Aid off. And you have to do it. You don't really have to, but I'm just telling you. Because what happens is, if you don't, you start to let resentment creep in. You start to hate that other person. You ever seen those couples where, and this is what got to me, I met a couple, they were together for over 45 years. This woman hated her husband. Didn't even want him to sleep in the same bed with her. She couldn't, she hated him. Because she stayed somewhere she shouldn't have, and resentment creeped in, and she felt like she wasted her life. For me, it was hard. I don't want that bitterness either. Jaleisha, for me, it was so hard. It was so hard. Girl, I cried the entire time. I cried when we decided to split up. I cried when we were at the courthouse. I cried when I was filing the paperwork. I cried. I will never forget when the judge hit the gavel. I jumped when the gavel hit, because that meant that was it. That was a few years ago. Now I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. And I was crying every day. Now I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. And like I said, he actually is one of my very best friends. Would we be good friends right now if we didn't have our daughter? I don't know. We probably would have went our separate ways. But we had this beautiful daughter that we had to share and be there for. So that was it. If you find that you're in a point where you have to start over and you're saying to yourself, what now? These are just a few steps. Starting over is a very long process. And again, if you are married, I always suggest that you go to counseling and work and do what you can to work it out first. But starting over is a very long process. However, it's not impossible, and you will not fail if you don't want to fail. If you are starting over and you want to win, you can win, and you will win if that's what you desire. But you have to know what to do. So we are coming up on the end of it. We're about at 8:24. There's more to this whole thing. Starting over is such a broad topic, because then getting back into the dating world was something else. Was something like, I told you, I feel like I'm on candid camera with this stuff sometimes here. I don't even know. Because as you're starting over with dating, now you have to reevaluate what kind of man you really want in your life. What mistakes was I making before? What mistakes do I not want to make again? What kind of man do I really want to be there for me? And the only way you're going to find that out is through trial and error. So, the next thing I will tell you, and one of the final things I will tell you is, be patient with yourself. Be easy on yourself. Be patient with the process. It is a very long process. You are going to have some lonely, lonely nights. You're going to have some nights where you just want someone to kind of, get up beside you and crawl next to you. And I'm telling you that as a single woman. The one thing, I'll tell y'all what I don't like. Let me tell you what I don't like. I do not like when a woman has somebody and she got all those muscles in the bed next to her, and she got all that that she can hold up on and rub up on, telling me it's okay, girl, it'll be fine, you get used to it. Girl, no, you got a man at home, okay? You got somebody you can be all up under and talk to and be with. So I'm telling you, as a single woman who is relearning life, who actually is getting a better handle on it day by day, it will get better. It will get easier. And to be honest with you, those lonely nights will seem few and far in between. Now, you have to be easy on yourself, though. And you have to be patient. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to kind of backtrack a little bit before you find yourself moving steadily forward. And that's important. If you want to be steady with this, it's a steady process. You're going to make a few backtracks before you make process with this and be steady. Now, I'm steady. Just got there, though. Okay? And sometimes I still fall for the okie doke. I already told y'all, I met a fine man. He was handsome. He was fly. He was it. I almost fell for the okie doke. But the importance of learning yourself and understanding yourself and spending time with yourself is listening to your spirit. Thank God I listened to my spirit when my spirit was like, girl, bye, he ain't the one. So, be easy on yourself. So let's start from the top. If you're starting over, what now? First, be realistic about your expectations, where you are and where you want to go. Second, seek appropriate outside help. Healing from something traumatic or healing from a long relationship or just starting over is not easy. And you're only aware of about 10% of what you're doing. 90% of what you do, you're not even aware you do. So you want to make sure you have appropriate help that can help pinpoint those holes that you don't even see, so you're not making the same mistake over and over again. Okay? The third one, get to understand yourself. Get to know yourself. Spend some real time with yourself. 4. Our fourth one. We got spend time with yourself. Our fourth one, protect your energy, protect your space, protect your environment. Really work to create the life you want. And when you start doing that, don't feel bad about protecting what's yours. It's your life. Hello from Germany. It's your life. And finally, number 5, if you find that you are starting over, my nail looks really good right there. If you find that you are starting over, number 5, be patient with the process. It's a long process. And be easy with yourself. It's going to get better. You're going to cry a lot in the beginning. You're going to feel lonely a lot in the beginning. You're going to wonder what is even going on with your life a lot in the beginning. But be easy with yourself. Be patient. It will get better. Now I'm at the point where I can say I've got a great life. I've got great friends. I have a busy life. And I have a full life. And at this point, I can be selective about the men that I want in my life because I know what I want. And I won't settle for anything less. So, I will tell you that. The subject was starting over. What do you do if you have to start over? So, I'm going to let you all go. You can always catch the replay. Again, did you feel like closure was necessary? Jamel, 34. Jamel, did I feel like closure was necessary? For my marriage, closure was definitely necessary because we just, sometimes I feel like you can't really move on to the next chapter until you close the previous chapter. So for us, closure was necessary. And I'm not talking about closure in the case of the gavel has hit, we are officially divorced. I'm talking about closure in the fact that he and I really sat down and we really talked about things. Okay, so this is over. Dang. All right, you know what? You were good to me. I was good to you. We rushed ahead of God's timing. Do we hate each other? No. And we talked about that. How do we want to treat each other? How do we want to behave with each other? What do we want our daughter to see? And we were very honest with ourselves. And we realized, okay, we rushed. We went ahead of God's timing. We both, not only did we go ahead of God's timing, but we lost ourselves within the marriage. And we stopped pursuing our passions and our dreams. And the funny thing about it is we actually had one conversation where we apologized to each other. We apologized to each other for not allowing the other one to grow, not allowing the other one to pursue their desires. We apologized to each other because we really expected each other just to deal with each other, and that was it. We weren't individuals anymore. So for us, closure was necessary. Hey, hon, how are you, Ro? So for us, closure was necessary. But Jamel, there are going to be times where you won't get the closure, depending on what's going on. Sometimes you just gotta be out. And that's real talk. So with my rebound relationship that really did not work out, and I'm going to tell you why the rebound relationship didn't work out, and I'm going to tell you why it's important that you go to therapy and you take time for yourself, Jamel. Yes, Ro. So when I divorced, I jumped into another relationship because I wanted to save something. I wanted something to work. Y'all, I was vulnerable. I was all over the place. I was a mess. So I jumped into this relationship, and he ended up being verbally abusive, mentally abusive, meaning he played a lot of mind games, and he was good at what he did. And usually I can catch a mind game like this. Usually I'm on it. Usually I can spot that stuff from a mile away. But because my blinders were on and I wasn't realistic about things, I jumped into it and I just let it happen. And he eventually said some of the nastiest things to me that have, to this day, no one has ever said some nasty things to me the way he did. And I was so hurt by it. I was so crushed by it. I couldn't even go to work the next day. That is not me. That's not the type of woman I was. And as I laid in my bed, I remember saying, yo, this is not me. I don't ever let people talk to me like they're crazy. I don't ever let people pop off their mouth to me. Ever, dude. Ever. Especially not a man. But I let him say whatever he want. And it just wasn't me. So in that case, I had to go. No, we're not about to talk about it. No, we're not about to work it out. No, we're not about to fix. No, you're verbally abusive. I'm not liking myself. I don't like who I am anymore. I'm insecure. No, I gotta go. So at that point, closure didn't really happen. I literally called and I literally said, yo, this isn't working. Now there's a nice guy. He wants to be with me, but I won't let him. So, Jamel, I wrote a blog piece a very long while ago on Women by Choice. And the blog piece was all about that. I'm always going to be real with you on these Periscopes. I'm going to be real all the time. So I'm going to be very real with you now. It is really, you have to get healing. You have to heal those scars. Because if you don't heal those scars, it's really difficult to go into a healthy relationship if you're not healthy. It's really difficult to maintain a healthy relationship if you're still hurt and you're still scarred up. The reason being is because I've been a rebound girl. Didn't notice till after the breakup. And it didn't last long, right? It was just... So, it's really difficult to let someone in when you haven't healed. I gave the analogy of this. When my daughter wanted cable in her room, I told her to clean up her room, get everything out the way, clean everything up. Verbal, physical. Girl, we about to talk about it because he was very verbally abusive. So she was in she went to her room, she cleaned everything up, right? So I sent the cable man back there. I'm like, all right, she wants cable in her room, go do it. So he goes to her room. He's like, all right, it looks good. He thought it looked good when he saw it. I thought it looked good when I saw it. Lo and behold, the man had to open up her closet to put the wire into the closet. Child, all my daughter's stuff came piling out of the closet. And I say that to say this. When someone has not healed from their scars in relationships that have hurt them, that is exactly what happens. You can sweep it away and you can push it away for so long, and that person sees you and that person is like, ooh, looking good. Everything looks right. I'm about to be out. I'm about to be in here. But then they really go to open up something deeper in you, and all your stuff comes tumbling out onto this person, and they're unsuspecting. So you have to get healing. You have to get help. I remember saying to myself, I am not going to date until I get healed, because I don't want a man to come along that's ready to give me everything I want and I'm not ready to receive it. So I'd rather spend some time by myself and get myself right than chase away someone that could be potentially good for me. So I will say this. You have to get healing from that. I can't be like, girl, open up and let that man in. You better do it before you're gone, because there's something that's not allowing you to open up. And that has to be dealt with first. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if you don't deal with that first, anybody you end up with, you're going to have a hard time with. So women are going to tell you, oh, open up before he goes. You don't want to lose a good man. Fact of the matter is, if he was meant for you, it's going to happen anyway. Whatever is meant for you won't pass you by. But if you have to take the time to shut things down, to understand yourself and heal yourself, you are your best project to work on. And if you are not healed as a woman, if you are not whole as a woman, nothing else will work out. I can promise you that. And I know this because I spent over 10 years not being healed. And everything fell apart. And it wasn't until I started working on myself as a woman that things started to fall into place. Then people think you too good to open up. And that's the other thing. Let me add, I was damaged and he was damaged also. Two damaged people don't mix. They really don't. Somebody, and truth be told, even if it's like one healthy person and one damaged person, sometimes it can work, but a lot of times it's not going to work that way. A lot of times, both people really have to work on themselves. So, and Ro, for me, with my rebound, we both were damaged as well. And then I later found out the man was married. Listen, it was a whole mess. It was a whole mess. So, I say all this to say, and I'll add this on as a sixth one. Who cared? Girl, yes, he was. With like 3 kids. 2 from the wife, and 1 from somebody else. Girl. So it was a mess. So, the last thing I will say also that I didn't add it, and Jamel, I'm happy you reminded me. Who cares what other people think? People called me all kinds of names people said all kinds of things about me when I started my life over. You have to get to the point where you have to say, oh well. So if you think I'm too good to open up, you don't know my story. You don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what I'm living right now. You don't know what I'm feeling right now. Who are you to judge me? So you know what? I'm not going to spend any time trying to convince you. I'm just going to work on me. You can think whatever you want to think about me, because the right people that are supposed to be in my life will be there, regardless of what you think. So I am on 10%, and I don't know where my charger is. So we are definitely going to have to get ready to end this scope, because I don't want the phone to shut off on you. But go back and watch the replay. It's going to be on my website, lifesdiary.net, LIFESDIARY.net. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this has touched somebody. I hope that this has helped a woman. We're back here again on Tuesday with another topic, another Periscope, another Sister Girl session. I'll message you, sister. Please message me, and I'll send you my number. We'll go from there. Another Sister Girl session, because no one understands what a woman goes through like a woman. Content will be added by Saturday. So on Saturday, if you've subscribed, if you go to the website and subscribe on the newsletter subscription, you will get the email letting you know what content has been added, how you can find it. And Motivational Monday this week was a hit. People loved it. We are back here Monday morning for that as well. Sisters, I love you all. I promise you I do. And if you ask me for anything, I am always going to give you an honest thank you. Love you too, sisters. Love you. Y'all don't even understand how much I love you. You don't even understand how much I want y'all to win. You don't understand how passionate I am for women being more and doing more and being better. I'm so passionate about it. I'm so serious about it. And if you, whatever you ask me, I'm going to thank you so much for this scope. You are so welcome. Whatever you ask me, I'm going to give it to you real. I'm only going to pat you a little bit, but then I'm going to give it to you real. And I'm still going to love you, because it was either good. I'm glad, because I find that we also can't move anywhere if we're too busy sugarcoating for each other. We have to really support each other in its entirety, in its realness, in its fullness. And I'm never going to speak to you about something that I haven't gone through myself. because I wouldn't even know how to connect with you on it. So y'all about to be like, oh, she's been through a lot. Oh my God, I have. So I always have a hard time ending because I don't want to leave you all. So until Tuesday, sisters, we'll talk. Follow me on Instagram at Shamar Latanya. It's the same as my handle for here. You can find me on Facebook, Shamar Logan. And I'm also on, I'm on Snapchat now also, Shamar Logan. So follow me across medias, and I will follow back. Message me, I will message back. Go to the website, lifesdiary.net. Poke around, subscribe, and we'll keep in touch. Have a beautiful week, beautiful women.